Hello, welcome to Microsoft Ignite here in Chicago. I'm Matt McSpirit, technical evangelist for all things data center. Now you may have seen in the keynote a day or so ago a little announcement that we made around some new technology that's coming in the future to help you bring Azure to your data center. Now, to learn more about that, who better could we invite than three people who have been living it, dreaming it, sleeping it for months now. Brad, Natalia, and Igor. Welcome.
Thank you.
The response, I think you'll agree, has been phenomenal. Social media, people are buzzing about it here at the conference. Tell us a little bit more, the 10,000-foot view on what the Azure Stack is all about.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, the response has been absolutely incredible. And like you said, the Azure Stack allows you to bring Azure to your data center. A lot of customers and a lot of customer environments, we've seen that people want agility. They want to have a cloud-ready platform. They want to actually innovate much more quickly than they can with traditional IT. So the Microsoft Azure Stack gives you the capability to have those cloud-optimized application platform and cloud-consistent service delivery. So you can actually abstract some of the resources from the infrastructure perspective and have that quicker innovation. It's based on some of the new innovation we've had in Azure. So there's the new Azure Resource Manager, and then it has the consistent portal experience, DevOps tools, so PowerShell templates, the parameterized templates, and then the same services. So the services that are available in Azure, you can have available on-premise or in a service provider cloud.
Okay, so you mentioned service providers there. They're obviously a key audience for the Azure Stack, but you mentioned some of the developer angles as well and DevOps there. Are developers going to be the big winners from Azure Stack, or are IT pros going to benefit as well? Who's going to not benefit the most, but?
I think both are going to benefit tremendously, because if you look at from a developer experience, you get faster agility. But from an IT experience, what we've seen is there's a lot of shadow IT happening in the industry.
Okay.
And IT has a very command and control model where they want to make sure and mitigate risk. With the Azure Stack, they can use the cloud-inspired infrastructure for storage, network compute, and really control and manage that infrastructure. But at the same time, through the service delivery, they can offer that quicker innovation that the developers need. So we think it's really a good marriage between those two, and it will give benefits for both the IT pros as well as the developers. Okay,
cool. So you mentioned Resource Manager there, and it's something we've heard quite a bit this week on this stage and in the keynote and in other sessions as well. Tell us a bit about Resource Manager for those who perhaps haven't kept up to speed. What is it all about? What does it mean?
Sure.
So the Resource Manager is, think of it as the new control plane for Microsoft's Azure Cloud. Both the public cloud and now with Azure Stack for private and hosted cloud environments. And the Resource Manager provides a templating model for how you can basically compose applications, both the traditional applications we've been doing for years for your line of business applications, mission critical applications that deploy on traditional IaaS, but give you a way to model those where you can model your networking and storage and compute requirements for that application and deploy it as a template to get provisioned. But it can also start providing the capabilities for cloud native or cloud-born applications that are using other kinds of resources besides IaaS. So you can take advantage of the blobs and tables or PaaS services that can be modeled together for a simplified application, for an cohesive application lifecycle management. In addition to the deployment capabilities where you define this, you also get the ability to manage that application over that lifecycle. And we're not talking about just the ability to start and stop and manage the application, but even define advanced rules such as RBAC. RBAC is a key component of the Resource Manager, so you can define policies and rules over who can access that program and what they can do. Can they start? Can they stop it? Is it read-only? Are they just providing monitoring capabilities? That is all built into the Azure Resource Manager, including an audit log. So you have this ability to look at all the actions that have happened on that application and get this great control for these cloud applications. Again, whether it be a traditional IaaS application that we've been doing for years or a cloud-native application that we're building for tomorrow.
Okay, and those applications, they don't necessarily have to be, not to use the word simple application, but single tier. They can be multi-tier, complex applications made up of lots of individual moving parts. Is that a good representation?
Exactly, and that's the promise of the cloud. The promise of the cloud is the ability to handle the spectrum of applications, from the single VM to the very advanced cloud-native, cloud-born applications that are taking advantage of advanced PaaS features. So the cloud is offering that spectrum. And now we're offering that cloud, not just in the Microsoft data center, but we're making it available for you to deploy in your data center to offer your organizations the opportunity to become cloud ready.
So when we think about our approach of a consistent strategy across on-premises for the customer, a service provider, and Azure, they truly will be able to take an application and just push it where they need to, send it where is appropriate.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, I think the best way to represent that, Igor actually has a demo where we can show that exact scenario.
Excellent. So Igor, take us through that scenario of deploying the applications consistently.
Great. Let's see what the Azure Stack looks like in action. So I'm going to start from Azure. So here I'm a customer of Azure and I have this application. This is an application that contains a little bit of infrastructure as a service, bunch of VMs, networks, and some platform as a service elements like SQL database, the websites, the storage account. A composite application runs in Azure. But now I'm switching to Azure Stack. So I'm an Azure Stack customer. And here is the same application, has the same VMs, has virtual networks, and elements of PaaS like SQL and websites.
So that's all the things down the right-hand side there, all of those different building blocks that make up this application.
And if you took a comparison side by side with Azure, you would see no differences. Well, that's the point. Azure Stack is Azure in your data center. There are no differences. Now, this is portal. It's not just about the portal. We talked about the entire Azure ecosystem accruing to your on-premises Azure Stack installation. So here's Visual Studio. I'm a developer in Visual Studio, and I'm creating new Azure project, Azure application project. Here it is. It gives me a set of options to start with, like set of VMs with a load balancer, maybe a web app, and so on. And here is a deployment choices for that application. So let's say I developed this application, I created it, now I want to deploy it. And look, for this demo account here, I'm showing presence of on-premises Azure Stack Ignite demo installation, as well as an option to deploy to Azure. Both of them are automatically discovered and available.
So to explain for the IT pros who are looking at this thinking, that's a nice looking application, but I'm not familiar with it. This is Visual Studio.
Yeah, this is Visual Studio.
And this is you've got an application that's been defined in a JSON template in the background.
Right.
And at the front, in the window there, you've got where you want to deploy it, essentially.
Correct.
Could you have a scenario where you could just do both simultaneously?
Yep. You can do both.
Oh, there you go. That's powerful stuff. So carry on.
You can script. This is not just Visual Studio.
Oh, right. Okay. Very nice.
The entire Azure ecosystem of tooling and the gallery and everything is accruing to this instance. So look here, you have a PowerShell script. So if you're an IT pro, if you're a developer or an operator person, right, you can then use PowerShell to target at a private installation of Azure Stack, and look how easy it is.
It almost looks too easy.
Yeah,
it almost looks too easy. I think I could even...
You point to a URL, you change an account, and you're done. You can use the same script you used to use against Azure to script against Azure Stack environment.
So this JSON file, is this something that's new with Azure Stack, or has this been around for a little while already? Is it just a Microsoft thing, or is...
The JSON template is the Azure template.
Okay.
This is the same template that Bradley talked about, the Azure Resource Manager. This is how you send an application to a resource manager. You describe it in this JSON template, and we're going to have all the tooling around it. And then the same template could be used against the on-premises installation. That's the power of Azure Stack.
And the flexibility of using the templates means standardized deployments are very consistent and fast, but also you can easily edit that JSON file and create a whole new application out of it.
Absolutely. Okay. And you can add things. You can do things like at build, we were showing Mesos Farm running on Azure, described as this template. And now you can have that same Mesos Farm running on an Azure Stack.
Okay.
Your application on a different instance.
So it's giving you a lot of power.
Yep.
And flexibility. And you mentioned Shadow IT before. How does this solve the problem of Shadow IT? Why would you think this will solve the problem?
So yes, with Shadow IT, a lot of what's happening is the businesses are really looking to be more agile, innovative. And by bringing some of the service delivery and the cloud optimized application platform to private clouds, they have that same agility that they have in deploying into a public cloud, but they can do it in the Azure Stack to the private cloud.
Okay, so For those familiar with some of the platform technology we've released in the current wave, 2012 R2, System Center, Windows Server, and the Azure Pack, what's the, not comparison, but the transition for people?
Absolutely. It's long been, ever since the foundation and development of our Azure public cloud, our strategy has been all along to deliver that Azure innovation into partner data centers. Azure Pack represents our first installment in that journey to provide these cloud services. And at the time we released Azure Pack, it was bringing some of the Azure experiences for cloud to our VMM and System Center and Windows Server Fabric Cloud infrastructure to provide that Azure management experience. And that is Azure Pack as this kind of add-on for System Center and Windows Server. Now Azure Stack is where we fully complete. We're now delivering on that complete vision of providing more of the Azure IaaS infrastructure as part of a complete end-to-end stack from metal to self-service experience. So it is a complete solution that is a product that will be offered. They actually will exist side by side as offerings rolling forward. So if you're using System Center and VMM, Azure Pack is being updated for the next release of System Center and Windows Server, and it'll continue to operate, and your line of business applications that are already running there are good and will continue to support that platform. And as you try to work with the organization, become cloud ready to take advantage of the new Azure PaaS features that are coming to your data center, we're offering Azure Stack for that kind of complete cloud experience that you can deploy in your data center.
Okay, so you've got options.
You've got options.
That's good. So when we think about the resource management model and resource providers, there was a lot of extensibility in the current Azure Pack. Partners could plug in and bring additional functionality. Is that same extensibility going to be relevant in the Azure Stack?
On steroids.
Right.
Even more.
Okay.
So the extensibility model is more robust, both in the ARM model, the Azure Resource Manager model, as well as the new Azure Management Portal has a much richer extensibility model. So we're very excited with the options we'll be able to offer our ISV and our partners who are integrating with Azure Stack.
Cool, okay. So in your demo, if we have a quick look back, you mentioned and you had the breakdown of all of the different services, or all the different components that made up the app there. Yeah, just there. Are they just Microsoft services? Are they just Microsoft components, or is there heterogeneous infrastructure pieces here as well, or services that can be consumed?
Absolutely. So you should think of Azure Stack as delivering this common core with Azure for the core compute, networking, storage, and some of these core services that are part of Azure. And then we'll see partners releasing new services for Azure Stack, as well as Microsoft releasing services. Azure Stack is all about running these modern service workloads inside this cloud elastic fabric. So you'll see other Microsoft services lighting up here, as well as third-party and partner services lighting up that can be part of the application lifecycle exposed through ARM.
So I could have a Linux set of virtual machines.
You can do that today, even without these. So you can run a Linux. Matter of fact, in this, we're running a Redis cache.
Nice.
Part of this, so
okay,
absolutely.
So the application frameworks, all of that, just doesn't have to just be purely Microsoft technology.
Not at all.
Now, Azure Stack has got a lot of attention this week, big announcement. At Build last week, there was a lot of talk about containers and Nano and those kind of things, but containers I want to focus on for a minute. Are they going to be relevant in this model? Do containers play, or is it a, nope, it's not going to work?
Containers absolutely play. Through VM extensions, we can support containers in the Azure Stack model. So if you want containers, you can bring them to the Azure Stack as well. Okay,
so developers who are looking for that even faster and quicker and agile and DevOps-focused deployment model, yeah, they can take advantage. Okay, great. So it's not available in preview just yet.
Nope.
But what can people do to get ready? If I want to, I saw the script, I saw how easy it is before, I'm tempted. How can I get ready, and how can the viewers at home get ready for this when it is available?
So you're right, it's not available today. It'll be available as part of the 2016 wave of products. But to get ready today, you can actually start using the Azure Resource Manager. So go to Azure already, right now, because it's the same as will be in the Azure Stack. The other things for some of the cloud-inspired infrastructure components, so that's at the foundation level, there's compute, storage, networking to create more of a software-defined data center technologies. Some of those technologies will be in preview, so you can download some of those in preview. We will have a preview for the Azure Stack later this year. Okay, great, excellent. So in terms of, you've been spending time at the booth, lots of people coming by, lots of traffic. Have there been any other questions that you think,
people at home would be good to know that, or is it just generally people are just excited and just want to touch the screen and hammer away at the keyboard and stuff? I guess it's just the momentum is just starting to build. Is that fair?
Right now, people are really asking questions that we've been talking about already.
Right.
How does this relate to Azure? Is it really the same? Can I, what is this templating all about, and how do I, look at that? So I think you've asked the same questions right here in this session that we've been hearing at the booth and we're hearing from customers as they try to understand what it is. And what they're hearing and what it is, in fact, is the same as Azure.
Okay.
We're showing that in our demos and our presentations and the templating model, and we're encouraging customers, as Natalia was saying, to go ahead and you can start modeling against the Azure Resource Manager in public cloud today. You can start using Compute, Storage, and Networking Preview for packaging up your applications. Those same templates that you author for Azure today will now be deployable on Azure Stack when it's made available. So you don't have to wait.
No.
You can start experimenting, and then you'll be ready when Azure Stack is in preview.
Yep. So we're not advising just to use Azure today as a testing for you in terms of a learning thing. You can actually start building your apps that you can then take and...
Yeah, we have a great POC for Azure Stack. It's called Azure.
Excellent. Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, that's pretty popular as well. Now, to wrap up, will people be able to learn more at the conference? Has there been more sessions this week? Have you done any sessions this week about Azure Stack that people can learn perhaps a bit more depth and see more demos as well?
So the three of us actually did a session yesterday. So yesterday at 3:15, so that should be posted. There's also a site, Azure in your data center, so you can learn more there, where we've got some videos posted as well as some of the blog posts. To learn more about the foundational layers, the storage and networking, there are sessions on storage and networking today.
All right, cool, excellent. So you'll be able to check those out on Channel 9 on demand, so knock yourself out with those. There's loads of information on the Azure Stack, on the other software-defined data center components, from compute, storage, networking, as Natalia said. So all that's left for me to do is thank the team.
Thank you.
They're going to go back and continue working on the Azure Stack, get it ready for you. I guess there's a little bit of work still to do. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you at home for joining us as well, and we'll see you on another Channel 9 session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.